Servus Männer, it's Red Bull Germany again. Brief update from Germany. From Monday, tomorrow, March 16th, Germany will close its western and southern borders. I am talking about the borders to France, Switzerland and Austria. Our Minister for the Interior, Horst Seehofer, has announced that by 7 p.m. today, which is very soon actually, he will explain these measures in more detail. But I want to briefly update you anyway right now on that. So Angela Merkel, Horst Seehofer and also the governors of the affected federal states agreed on these measures. They said that commuters who work in another country are still able to cross the border. Also, Germans who are currently in these countries are still able to get back to Germany. And goods can still pass the border, so import and export will not be affected. Other people, however, will be checked and if necessary, they will be sent back also by our border guards. Meanwhile, local measures in Germany for a lockdown are increasing. Remember, Germany is a federal state. That means we do not have a general rule for lockdown and for closing or banning certain events and venues, but every state more or less does that by itself. So now, for example, in Berlin, we have over 200 cases. And here, especially middle-aged people, like between 25 and 50 years of age, those people are mainly affected. And maybe they infected themselves during nightlife activities. And that is why also in Berlin now bars, pubs, cafes, restaurants, and so on, but also entertainment venues such as cinemas or theaters will be closed down. Gyms especially are dangerous because you sweat a lot and you use the same weights and the same machines as other people. So I would not want to go to the gym right now actually. I use my weights at home. So about the closing down of the border, you already know from my last video that our northern and eastern borders are basically controlled by the neighboring countries already. So Denmark, Poland and the Czech Republic are already doing what Germany did not want to do so far. And of course, these measures are maybe not too little, but definitely too late. As I said, we could have already done that in the beginning of February. And I do not mean closing down the border to France. I mean, of course, that you restrict access to Germany by plane and otherwise for people who come from a certain region in the world. That means East Asia. But I think China is just too powerful and nobody really can afford right now economically to anger the communist rulers of mainland China. And this is why the travel restriction that would have made sense actually was not enacted when it still could have done some good, but they waited until now and now they just close borders within Europe. But of course, our government has a response to that. They say this is not actually meant to shut down a certain infection channel. No, the closing of the borders right now has just the purpose of preventing people from neighboring countries to go over the border and buy things in our supermarkets. So hoarders from France or Switzerland who come with an SUV and buy all the ravioli from our supermarkets. Yeah, that is actually their official statement here. Hoarders from neighboring countries should be prevented to buy a lot of things in Germany and then take these things back to their countries. That is a rather interesting explanation, I think. Other measures that Germany is taking at the moment is that the train schedules are changing now. The frequency of connections will be decreased. And also they said that they will not check for tickets anymore on the trains. That means for the first time in history, Germans are treated the same way as non-Germans by the Deutsche Bahn. No more ticket controls on the train. Thank you. So don't take my word for it. That is just what I get from the newspaper. Don't blame me if you get controlled and have to pay a fine, okay? If I were to travel by train right now, of course I would buy a ticket. But actually, to tell you the truth, I would not want to be on a public means of transportation right now. I only travel by foot or by car at the moment. And also these very attractive young men that you can see here, they tell us that now Germany is preparing a finance bazooka. I guess they think they are very, very cool and hip when they say these things. And actually what that means is that the German state now wants to help the German economy with gigantic government aids of roughly €500 billion. And they said more could be following. That means if there are corporations now who suffer from the disruption of supply chains or from staff that they have to send home, etc., then the government will just help them. So everybody should prepare for inflation, because Germany is of course not the only country that does things like that right now. And I actually think, well, I'm not an economist, but I'm just telling you, I think that if the real economy suffers, that means people don't produce as much and also people don't consume as much anymore, then all the cheap money in the world will not help. It will just lead to mass inflation, but the real world economy cannot be helped by that if people have to stay at home because of a health crisis. I fail to understand how this should help. Maybe it helps in the short term, but even at mid-term timeframes already, I don't understand anymore how quick and cheap money from the government, so printed fiat money basically, should be of any help to the real world economy here. I should also mention that Annegret Kramp-Karrenbauer, our Secretary of Defense, has announced that the German army, the Bundeswehr, is ready to help if necessary, also within Germany. Normally our army cannot be deployed in our own country, but in times of crisis, such floods or something like that we had in the past, when large rivers are flooded and villages and towns are in danger, then the army can actually help there. But now, when we are fighting a disease, they will not carry sandbags to build dams, but maybe they will be employed to maintain public order. And that would be something new in the Federal Republic as far as I can remember. So if there will be new revelations that actually are worthy of a short report, you will hear from me again soon. If not, I might cover another topic today or tomorrow. Stay vigilant, stay safe and stay healthy wherever you are. Servus, Kameraden.